right. So moving on now, we've got, speaking about again, curbing, tackling COVID-19 in the country and several measures taken. Look, time and again, we reported the number of cases that we do record, and we'll always keep reporting that. But yes, if you do remember, the green bar in all of those who've been discharged, usually green stands for good. But today we've got Professor Jesse Otegbayo, who is the Chief Medical Director of University College Hospital, Ibadan. He joins us via Skype. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, it is indeed a good narrative to have you speak with us, because we do know that, it was widely reported as well, your positive status at the time. But today, you are negative. Talk to us about that.
Well, it all started during our quarterly meeting, quarterly board meeting, when a member of the board took ill suddenly, having breathing difficulty, fever, cough, and all the rest. And it became a suspected case for COVID-19 and was tested positive. Those of us who were at the meeting with him had to be tested, and 3 of us amongst the lot were positive, and yours truly was one of them. And on account of that, I had to go on self-isolation for about 14 days. I tested negative twice after that. But the National Center for Disease Control guidelines says that I have to stay 7 days after the second negative test had come out before I could be released. And today is my very first day going out of my house after 21 days of incarceration.
Oh, that's nice. But talk to us about, were you in very close physical proximity with him?
Oh, yes. As I sat next to the person, we exchanged documents, we exchanged microphones, and of course, we try to maintain social distance. But I think from handling the materials that the individual has handled, one is likely to contract the infection from that kind of interaction.
It just goes to show how important it is to be careful at this time, what people share. You might maintain social distancing, but you share things, and somehow, the virus creeps in. So I see that you tested positive on March the 28th, and April 2nd, you tested negative. That's about 5 days. I don't know if that's a record, but I got a lot of people asking, how did that happen? Is it that the viral load on you was not much, or because you're a medical person, the virus was perhaps, intimidated by you? But please, on a serious note, help us understand how that happened.
Well, the COVID-19 virus is one virus that the biology is not yet very clear as at this time. A lot of new things are being discovered on a daily basis because it's a new virus anyway. And I don't think my qualification intimidated the virus. You see, those who manifest symptoms and those who turn negative within a short time usually have certain characteristics, which I think I have. I do not have any underlying chronic illness or disease. I'm not on any drug that can suppress my immunity. I was very active, hale and hearty. And more importantly, when the viral load was tested, I had a very low viral load. And not just that, my immunity index, which is the CT, was on the high side. And all these factors put together worked in my favor. And of course, my belief in God that things will be well.
So did you use any kind of medication? Because there's been a lot of talk about what kind of care people receive during that process, what kind of medication. Which did you use?
Knowing what we call the pathophysiology of the disease, because it releases some chemicals into the tissues that cause tissue destruction and cause disease. These are called cytokines. And there are some medications that have what is called antioxidant properties. One of them is vitamin C. 2 weeks before the test was carried out on me, I'm positive. I'd been on high dose of vitamin C because I knew that my job places me at a higher risk than an average person, and I was trying to take preventive measures So 2 weeks even before that time, I'd been on vitamin C. And of course, my physicians who were taking care of me also asked me to take chloroquine. I did. I took some things that contain vitamin C essentially because of the antioxidant property, which sort of reduce inflammatory process in the body. So essentially, those were the things I did. And of course, I took a lot of fluid just to make sure that I'm not dehydrated and wash up whatever can be washed up through the urine. So, and I rested, I did some exercises, and now the rest is history.
Wow, yeah, but we'll still like to stay with that history a bit, just to shed some light. Were there any symptoms? Did you exhibit some of the symptoms, we hear about, coughing, shortness of breath, and all that? Did you experience any of them?
Not at all. In fact, there's no difference between my health status before I tested positive and after I tested negative. I did not manifest any symptom at all. And of course, usually those who have a low viral loads don't manifest symptoms.
Can that be attributed to the fact that you were already on a high dose of vitamin C? Do you think that can be the case?
Well, as a scientist, I would not adduce that to be the reason why, because that will have to be subjected to rigorous research to know whether it actually was. However, there are several studies that have shown that vitamin C definitely helps reduce inflammatory processes. But it does not have antiviral property because it does not kill the virus or even reduce its capability to infect. What it does is that it reduces inflammation that the virus could cause, therefore reducing the possibility of disease and therefore symptoms. There's a difference between having the virus and manifesting the effects of the disease that the virus can cause. Yes, I had the infection, but I did not have the disease.
To a large extent, a number of people would see the fact that you test positive for coronavirus as something traumatic. So, which gave you more concern, the fact that you tested positive for coronavirus, or the trauma, the mental stigmatization, so to speak, of coronavirus disease? Which was more traumatic for you?
The more traumatic was the isolation and the emotional trauma during that period. I have no concern at all about stigmatization. In fact, I voluntarily released a memo about my positive status and endorsed by myself. So I have nothing. It is not a disease that kills everybody. It's not a disease that stays long in the body. And usually, if you are asymptomatic and you didn't suffer the effects of the virus, you return to a normal and active life. What was of concern to me was I had to be isolated. I could not see my loved ones. I had to resort to talking on phone, even to my wife and children. And I was like somebody who has been very active and suddenly you are incapacitated. It's just like little children when you ask them to sit down in one place, being very active all their life in that stage of life. Asking them to stay in one place is even more punishment than killing or using other means of punishment. So that was the problem for me, having to stay alone, the loneliness, the isolation, then the inactivity. I'm not used to an inactive life. I usually a very restless person. So I will have to restrain myself. It's like you caged a bird.
All right, Prof. Well, we'll come back to this just a couple of more minutes with you, particularly for those who may have taken on board a thing or two in terms of what to do when they get this. So we'll let you speak to us about that when we return in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back, our concluding moments. Now, well, Prof, I don't know if to call this a good problem, because when you say first you were already on a high dose of vitamin C, so that may or may not have helped. I mean, it's always good to get your immune system strong. But then you also talked about how you use chloroquine. And some people just don't want to hear that, oh, wait a minute, Prof used chloroquine and he is negative. So they will just go for it because already, even before now, they were already, I think at some point, hospitals were recording high key people were, taking chloroquine with reckless abandon. But now that you talked about this, how should people approach usage of chloroquine?
Well, concerning chloroquine, I would just say people will tread with caution. There are studies that have shown that chloroquine does help. There are also studies that have not validated its efficacy in the treatment of COVID-19 infection. I took it because one of my physicians asked me to do so. I did not do it on my own. So what I would tell people is to report to a healthcare facility or a healthcare worker who will evaluate their condition, because this is a disease that does not manifest in only one way, and therefore one cap can never fit all. Treatment will have to be based on the condition of the patient, looking at the viral load, looking at the immune status, looking at the fact that there may be an underlying condition like diabetes, heart failure, kidney disease, cancer, and all that. So I will not say I recommend that people should take chloroquine, and I will not mention the dose I took. That should be left to the physicians whose business it is to prescribe. However, there are a lot of, the internet is awash with a lot of information, some of them misleading, some of them true, some of them half truths. So the most important thing I would recommend as a physician is to listen to their doctors or health workers.
We talk about health infrastructure. Now, the UCH was a prominent institution, had virology, PIMRAT's Institute of Advanced Medical Research and Training. Basically, a lot of people were trooping in from Africa to learn how the UCH handles issues such as this. But now, at this point, how well equipped would you say the UCH is in handling, issues such as COVID-19 and other, diseases or viruses that might come up in the future?
Well, like I said earlier on in some interviews, the greatest weapon we have is prevention. So the way we are handling it is to give our people education. We've trained our members of staff on protecting themselves and protecting the patients they care for. We had to reduce the number of staff on duty. We have had to close down some businesses around the hospital just to reduce the influx of people into the hospital premises. And of course, we have made attempts to get personal protective equipment, gloves, masks, and all those things that we need to protect our staff, because my major concern is to protect our staff, then to care for the patients that we take care of, and to avoid the spread of the disease, of the infection as much as possible. We have had to fumigate some areas. We have had to isolate. We have a 4-bed isolation center which was built during the Ebola period, but now we are converting our 25-bed ward that was initially used for multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. We are still renovating this center, and the challenge we may have is that of funds, but we are trying to solicit for funds from high net worth individuals and philanthropically minded individuals to support us. And good enough, we've been getting some support. Notable among them is the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, who have donated the generous 5 million to that cause. And we are going to use this judiciously. There are some others who have also given us materials. And those are the things we are using now to curtail the spread of the infection and to care for our staff and patients alike.
All right, then. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us this morning, Professor Jesse Otegbayo, who is the Chief Medical Director of UCH. Very good to talk to you as a survivor. So many can indeed see it's not a death sentence. So people do recover. So that's why we always say, don't forget to let hope spread, not the virus. So there you go. That is the show today. We thank you all for watching. And remember, part of what he said was he didn't already buy chloroquine and stocked it up. It was his physician did give that instruction, and so he used it. But if you already have bought it, you can't test yourself. You don't know your own. You can't determine your own viral load. You can't determine what happens. But there must be a physician to direct in your administering those medications. So it's very important. No, don't self-medicate as much as you can. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
I'm Kayode Okikiodu.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Compliments of the season.